Hello there, I'm Big Alias, and Call of Duty, it's alright, you know, it's not bad. Man, I spend so much time talking and thinking about, and also playing Call of Duty. I just think it's alright. Like, there's some good ones, there's some really great ones, and there's some just god-awful ones. There's really bad Call of Duties. You know, some are infested with 8-year-olds, and some are infested with being shit. However, the one that I'm talking about today is actually doesn't qualify in any of that. It kind of sits in this weird space where it's not bad. I mean, it's not. I mean, it is bad. It's not good. It's not absolute dog shit. You know, I didn't step on it on the way to the shops, and then drag it in and start some sort of colony on the shit, some sort of Smurf civilization maybe, and then Eric Cartman comes, kills them all. He just kills them all. But no, it's not that bad. It's not. It doesn't deserve to be killed by Eric Cartman. I mean, it's serviceable, I guess, would be the way to describe Black Ops 4. It's interesting because, you know, I've actually been going back and playing Modern Warfare 2019. I challenged myself to Prestige in around about a week. As I'm already on fifth Prestige, which is, it's been difficult, but I'm almost there. And in doing so, I've been going back and looking at some of my older Call of Duty videos, and there's this weird enigma with Black Ops 4 where, if you go back, you'll notice that it's the one game where I actually I really did change my mind. Every other game I kind of had an opinion, and maybe they altered here and there. Like Modern Warfare 3, I never liked, and I still don't like to this day very much. But with hindsight, you know, it's a lot better than a lot of the stuff that came after it. World War II, I think, was probably the biggest, other than this, biggest change in opinion that I had, where initially I thought it was alright, but I actually think it's quite good now. Black Ops 4, man, I did a complete 180 on this. This is not a good game. Hell no. But in my initial review, I said that I really liked it. And a lot of the stuff that I said that I liked in that review, actually a couple of years on, God, what has it been now? It's 2.5 years later. I definitely don't agree with. I mean, the first thing I opened up with in the review was how great the gunplay felt and how good the movement was and stuff like that. And how it felt like a true return to form. And no, I don't agree with that now. There is no fucking way I'm going to say that again. I mean, no. The first thing you notice when you boot this up is, you know, now that we have sort of the perspective of Modern Warfare 2019 and Black Ops Cold War, which are games that feel a lot better, it's easy to tell just how bad Black Ops 4 feels. And now I'm going to say some controversial stuff that people are going to attach me to a pitchfork for saying, and then give me a Best New Music award. No one's going to understand that reference, a pitchfork joke. But no, people are going to be very mad at me for saying this, because I'm about to insult a game that people like a lot. But there's this thing that happened, and I think the only other video, man, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sorry if I'm you know, defamating on anyone, but I think it was a late night gaming video where this is the one time where I heard the same thing said about this, and it made me so overjoyed to actually hear this. So with the tryout games, circa Black Ops 2, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3, and Black Ops 4, they all have this air of cheapness to them. All of those games have a very cheap feel to them. They feel incredibly budget, and very like sticky and tacky, and yeah, not like a premium, slick, smooth product, which is what I've always expected with Call of Duty and always associated with Call of Duty before this era, was like a nice, slick, smooth gameplay where the guns feel great. And I definitely don't feel that way about 2, 3, or 4. And this is a continuation of that. It's weird. It's really hard to explain. And for the past few days, I've been trying to figure out the best way to say this. So one example I would give is something that I focus on far too much, which is the sprint animation. So with the sprint animation, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, this is just how it feels, right? This is a subjective feeling. It feels to me as though with other games, you press sprint and then your character kind of like shifts their gun over and starts sprinting, starts moving with the gun. With those Black Ops games, it feels as though you click it and then it initiates. It feels as though Again, I'm probably wrong about this, but maybe there's a couple of animations missing in that cycle. Maybe there's a couple of frames that aren't there, or a couple of movements that aren't there with the other Call of Duty games, to which, to the end of, at which point, when you click on it, it feels as though there's this like gap, there's this space that doesn't exist with the other Call of Duty games, where you've clicked it, and it just happens immediately. And I think that's the big issue that I have with those Call of Duty games, and this applies to Black Ops 4, where it's all about immediacy. It's all about things happening straight away. Just fire, go. And there's a couple of words that I have tied to this. The first of which is robotic. It feels very robotic. Like, you look at the way that a robot moves, because it doesn't have limbs, it lacks limbs. It also lacks fluidity, and it doesn't look real, with the exception of maybe a couple of those super awesome, mega awesome robots where they actually look, as though they are emulating real life. You see a robot, you think of a robot in some tacky 80s movie with, Arnold Schwarzenegger in it, and it's a very stiff movement because they don't have the limbs for that fluidity, and that's a human versus a robot is how I feel about that movement system, and also the gunplay as well. The other word would be binary. It feels very binary, very on and off. You do this, you do that, you do this, you do that. And I think that's why those games feel a little bit soulless to me, is because it feels as though the game is just responding to your commands rather than, you don't really feel at one with it. You feel as though it's just going, oh, you wanted to sprint, I'll sprint. You wanted to shoot, I'll shoot. And that carries over to the maps. And that's another issue I have in retrospect, is the maps. I don't like them. I don't like Black Ops 4 maps at all. I really wanted to like them, but they're bad. They are really bad. And they are, once again, binary. You go where the game wants you to go. You're funneled into where the game wants you to be funneled into. You follow the paths that the game wants you to follow. And the issue is, what makes things even worse is, I don't feel the sense there's any window dressing. There's no mise en scène. There's nothing to keep things interesting. I understand that games like World War II and stuff like that, and even to a lesser extent, like Black Ops 2 and things, they all had these three-lane maps, all of these maps that funneled the action through one place. But it feels as though with 4, and even more so with 3, Treyarch, they lacked anything to make it feel as though they're doing anything but that. And I think they took that to the extreme with that, and I can't remember the name of it, but that map that's set in the middle of a forest, and it's literally just military base. Hey, it's a military base. That's all it is. There's nothing deeper than that. It's just literally shoot people in a military base. It goes no further than that. It's aesthetically completely void of anything interesting whatsoever. And it follows the 343 Industries path of get a bunch of assets, repeat them, and then put them unilaterally or whatever, just vertically and horizontally, make this square thing, and just chuck it in there, chuck a bunch of squares in there, and just see what happens. And it feels like an Infinite Warfare map as well. And it just, again, feels completely soulless. I mean, everything happens in a way that you would expect it to, and I think that was my biggest issue with this game, Black Ops 4, is that nothing new would ever happen. And I compare it to Modern Warfare 2019, which I think is the biggest polar opposite to this game, where anything can happen. I mean, you're in a map, well, with the exception of maybe things like Shipment, Shoot House and stuff like that, some of those smaller maps. With the larger maps, anything could happen. You don't know what's going to happen moment to moment. But with Black Ops 4, it's the complete opposite. Every time I go into that game, I feel as though I had the same experience as last time. The same things happened as last time. The same fights felt the same way as they did last time. Even the specialists, which is the only thing they do to really jazz things up. I mean, which one's the one that puts down like that wire mesh stuff that traps you? That always goes in the same place. That map where you're stranded on a beach. I've played like 90 hours of this game and I can't remember the name of a single map. That map where you're stranded on a beach, it'll always go in that little room on the ship itself. There'll always be wire along there. There'll always be wire along certain checkpoints everywhere you go. And speaking of map design, by the way, and how uninteresting it is on an aesthetic level, that stranded map. How do you take a cool ass stranded ship in a jungle Lost-esque scenario and turn it into a bunch of corridors separated by fucking brick walls and crates and shit like that. There's nothing interesting about that map, and that could be said for all of them. There's one that's just like rooftop on like military facility, and then there's military facility in the office, as we discussed. Now, a forest. Now, yeah, admittedly, there are some maps. Is it Morocco or something like that? Set out in a like a market town sort of thing. That's relatively interesting. Layout-wise, it's the same as everything else. And then you go back to that beach map, you know, and I think that really sums up the better parts of these maps, which is aesthetically, it is fairly interesting. It could be a cool place to fight. But they strip everything out that could have made it interesting and turn it into 3 funnels set. It has to be on top of something so that there's no like map limiting walls, you know, map walls or anything like that. And they strip out any like remnants of what could be cool mise-en-scène, and it's just a plain few boxes for you to shoot people in, and that's it. That's all it is. It's just some boxes for you to shoot people in, and that's what it feels like, and that's what it plays like. Aesthetically, these maps weren't interesting. Layout wise, these maps were absolutely dead, and it was full of remasters too. I mean, the remasters were good. It was fun to go back to those, but you know, I'd rather play a game that has those remasters and better maps alongside it, like Black Ops 1 or something like that. So when you put all of that together, man, what you end up with is like bad gunplay, bad movement, bad maps, and maps that, by the way, do not gel well with the gameplay at all. The gameplay doesn't feel as though there's much harmony. It doesn't feel very as though it's like there's much going on in unison between these two. Wow, I just hesitated for so long. I sounded like William James Bottomtooth from Family Guy. But yeah, they don't gel well. They don't. The specialists don't gel well either. A lot of the specialists are just straight up frustrating. Not fun, just annoying. It's like they took the oh my god, what's it called in Halo Reach? Oh my god, Armor Lock. They took Armor Lock and they said, wow man, people find that annoying. Let's do that 8 times. Yeah, they just, you know, introduce all of these annoying ass characters, put them in uninteresting maps with uninteresting gameplay, and what do you get? You know? And the thing is, I'm not saying it's frustratingly bad. If this was a review for something like Advanced Warfare, I'd be talking about how it is offensively bad, and the game design is so bad that it makes me want to rip my own fucking teeth out. Especially my bottom tooth. Cool, back to the Family Guy joke. Yeah, but basically what, I rip my teeth out in Advanced Warfare. But then Black Ops 4 is just alright. You know, you got like that iceberg map, which, you know, aesthetically I really did want to like it, and that was one of the ones I said I liked in the review. But man, looking at it, you have a crash ship in the middle. We haven't seen that before. And then you have 2 lanes either side. We haven't seen that before. It's just all the same. And again, it's very formulaic. And the biggest issue is, you know, when you haven't got anything interesting going on with regards to the maps, the gunplay, the movement, or the characters, it's just, you know, what is there? What is there to keep you interested in the game? And especially when every encounter feels the same and there's nothing to jazz it up. It wasn't great. No, Black Ops 4 was not a great game. You know, looking to zombies, I really can't tell you much about that. It seemed interesting, actually. I like the Titanic map. The Roman map was fairly interesting too. So, but I don't know. I really don't do zombies. I did a lot of zombies in Black Ops 1, but it just got so boring to me. And of course, there's no campaign. There was no campaign in this game. So even at the end of a glowing review that I gave this game, I couldn't recommend it because it's just not worth the money. You know, just a few maps and some formulaic gameplay. And of course there's Blackout. I did a review of this back in the day. Blackout was so bad. Oh my god, Blackout. Wow, I can't believe that people are actually saying they want to go back to this. I'm not the biggest Warzone fan, but Warzone is immeasurably better. Do I even want to go into why Blackout is so bad? Okay, so aesthetically, alright, I'm going to get this straight out of the way first. The aesthetics for a Battle Royale game are incredibly important because whether you like them or not, and listen, this isn't a knock against people who like Battle Royale. If you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. More power to you, that's fantastic. Regardless of that, not much happens in a Battle Royale game. You can't deny that. It's objective. Not much happens in a Battle Royale game. You're not doing much shooting, running away, or much of anything. You spend a lot of time in the map not doing much. And ultimately, the result of that is that if in order to make a good battle royale, it has to look interesting too. You have to enjoy being in the world, just being there, being a part of the world. That's why a game like Fortnite is so popular, because it, regardless of what you think of the game, and I'm not the biggest fan, aesthetically it looks very interesting. The skybox is always doing something. The map is always doing something. Apex Legends, Respawn did a fantastic job of this. They introduced new maps, and every single map is absolutely gorgeous, interesting, really fun to run around in, and they made the traversal itself very fun as well, because they understand that you'll be spending a lot of time doing that. Blackout was the complete opposite. It was about as aesthetically interesting as a picture of a piece of fucking cardboard. It was so bland, so uninteresting, and the engine itself couldn't even cope with what it was showing you. There were cabbages that weren't rendering shadows. There was grass that wasn't rendering properly. There were no colours other than just yellows and browns, and it just looked terrible. The graphics genuinely looked as bad as like early 360 era stuff. And this was the replacement for campaign. The gunplay wasn't great either. It was just as bad as it was in multiplayer. And again, it didn't work very well with the map either. So Blackout was just a complete and utter bust. Absolutely fucking terrible. And I genuinely, and I mean this when I say this, I would rather not play it than play it. And when I say that, I mean I would rather do nothing. I would rather do genuinely nothing than play Blackout. It bores me that much. It bores me to even look at, to even watch. Blackout is so fucking boring, and I cannot stand it. It was so bad then, and it's so bad now. There are some battle royale games that I can stand. I can do a few rounds of Warzone. I can do quite a bit of Apex Legends actually, because it is quite a good game. I cannot stand Blackout. So ultimately, as a package, it wasn't a great game. Looking back on it, I think ultimately, Black Ops 4, for me, it was an exercise in metering my expectations. Listen, Black Ops 4, the thing is, Black Ops 4 came out at the tail end of a bad era for Call of Duty. We had just had the 3 worst games in the series all sandwiched into one. Then World War II, which didn't have enough content and was very, very stripped back and basic. And I'm at the point where, I want Call of Duty. I always want Call of Duty to be good. It's a franchise that I hold a lot of even though I think it's very basic and average, I have a lot of revere for. A lot of, I want to say nostalgia, but like there's this warm, sentimental feeling I have towards Call of Duty. And I always want it to be good. But man, I didn't even like Black Ops 2. I didn't like Ghost. I didn't like Advanced Warfare or Black Ops 3 or Infinite Warfare. I didn't like any of it. So when this game comes along, and it's not awful, like it's not good, it is bad, but it's not as bad as it was. I think I kind of ran off with that. Like I wanted that, so I grabbed it and I ran away with it, and I said, I thought to myself, this is going to be the one, this is going to be the Call of Duty that I just completely engulf myself in, and for the first time since Black Ops 1, like I can really make this my main game and play it constantly, and I feel as though there's a part of that in me every year, but I think I really I didn't understand how to meet my expectations with that game. So for example, with Cold War this year, I had a good time with it, and I enjoyed it, but in the back of my head I thought I would love to make this game the game that I play all year, but I know it's not going to happen. Interestingly enough, actually for the first time ever, I've gone back to the previous year's Call of Duty, and now I'm playing Modern Warfare, and I think ultimately this decade Modern Warfare was the one. I think Modern Warfare 2019 was my Call of Duty for this decade, and it certainly wasn't this. So, in summary, a retrospective 2.5 years later on Black Ops 4 was that it wasn't very good. And I'm glad we moved away from it. It feels as though a lot of the things that were implemented in that game, or rather taken away in that game, have been forgotten. The Black Ops Pass, which was disgusting and forced you to buy every pre-order, in fact, every piece of DLC in one go, has gone. The campaigns are back. Specialists are gone. And it really feels as though we kind of needed it in order to move positively in the right direction. So that was Black Ops 4. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. It is absolutely fine to like this game. Don't forget that all of these things that I say are subjective to me, and it's just the way I feel. But yeah, I guess I will see everyone later.